So welcome to my channel. So today's topic is nutrition in animals. So last class we have seen about Holozoic nutrition and how nutrition in amoeba is taking place and how does the different processes been taking place. So this is also a part of Holozoic nutrition where organism eats up the food first and it gets digested inside the body and releases the energy. So how does this happen? So you can see the image here. So you have a long tube running towards from mouth towards the bottom. Now this long tube is nothing but we call it as a alimentary canal. So the same thing we call it as a digestive system, right? So each part of this alimentary canal is divided into several parts like mouth, tongue, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, and anus. So the food will be passed on to each and every segment of the alimentary canal and gets digested. So let us proceed further. First step, here you can look into the screen. The various steps in nutrition are as follows. As like Holozoic in nutrition in amoeba, we also have ingestion. Here the human beings, if you take human beings, food is ingested through the mouth first. Okay, then the food is put into the mouth with the help of hands and it gets chewed by our teeth. So we call that process called mastication. The teeth helps us to mm, uh, masticate the food, that is grind the food, twist and tear the food. We have different types of teeth for it: molar, premolar, canine, all those things you studied in earlier classes. So here the digestion of food begins in the mouth and the teeth cut the food into small pieces. The salivary glands, so you can see that three kinds of salivary glands is present: parotid, submandibular and sublingual. So what they do, they produce saliva, watery liquid, which contains an enzyme called salivary amylase. So this enzyme digests the starch which is present in the carbohydrate or the food particle which we are consuming. The salivary amylase converts the complex sugar into simple sugar. Now, our tongues also helps in mixing the saliva with the food, and the mouth is helping us the food to grind properly. Okay. So whatever done at the earlier stages, so it tends to be the incomplete digestion which is happening in the mouth. So we move on to next process called uh, takes place in the esophagus. So it consists of a long tube. The slightly digested food in the mouth is swallowed by the tongue and goes down the food pipe called esophagus. When the slightly digested food enters the food pipe, the esophagus will be having certain walls. So these walls rhythmically expand and contract. So once they expand and contract, the food will be passed on slowly to our stomach. So this process of rhythmic contraction and expansion of the esophagus muscles is called as the peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement. This peristaltic movement of food pipe pushes the slightly digested food into the stomach. Now next thing is when the food reaches the stomach, now the food is reaching the stomach. So it enters the stomach. So you all know that stomach is a J-shaped organ and the walls of the stomach has three tubular glands which secrete gastric juice. This gastric juice nothing but hydrochloric acid, enzyme pepsin and mucus layer. Why is there mucus layer? Because mucus helps to protect the stomach wall from its own secretions of hydrochloric acid. So you know that there will be a lot of hydrochloric acid which is present inside the stomach in order to kill the germs as well as digest the proteins, right? And to take the further digestion process. Now this hydrochloric acid creates an acidic medium which facilitates the action of enzyme pepsin. So we have the enzyme pepsin in our stomach. Even though we have the pepsin, we need hydrochloric acid's help to activate the pepsin because pepsin only helps to digest the protein. Now after the partially digested food, will be passed on from stomach to the small intestine. So now the food will be passed on from stomach to the small intestine. So in the small intestine, the partially digested food from the stomach will be entering. So after it has entered, the small intestine will have lot of coils, like they have lot of coil like structures in our belly. Now the small intestine in human beings is the site of complete digestion of food like carbohydrates, proteins and fat. This is very important. One more question: where does the complete site of uh, complete digestion of food takes place? That is small intestine. Now the small intestine receives two other secretions from two glands, that is from the liver and pancreas. Liver secretes bile juice and pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. So liver secretes bile, that is greenish yellow liquid made in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. So here you can see, so liver will be secreting the bile juice and it cannot transfer directly to the small intestine. It will be stored. The bile juice will be stored in a small sac-like structure called gallbladder. From the gallbladder only the bile juice will be supplemented to the small intestine. So here the bile juice performs two functions. Makes the first function is that it makes the acidic food coming from the stomach as basic, that is alkaline, so that pancreatic enzymes will be acted upon. So here you should make a note that pancreatic enzymes cannot act if the food is still acidic. So they has to be made into a basic substance. So the bile will be making the acidic food into a basic, that is alkaline. Now the bile salts break the fat present in the food into small globules and make it easier for enzymes to act and digest them. So one more function is that we consume lot of oily foods, right? That oily foods will be broken down. So they convert. So we have one more structure called pancreas, which is seen just below the stomach. So the pancreas, it will secrete the pancreatic juice, that is three types of juices. One is pancreatic amylase and trypsin and lipase. So pancreatic amylase will break down the remaining starch, trypsin will break down the remaining digested protein, and lipase will be converting the emulsified fat. Emulsified fat is nothing but like foam like structures. So the large fat molecules will be converted into smaller fat globules by the bile juice. So this process is called emulsification. So that the emulsified fat will be again converted by the lipase into simpler substances, that is glycerol and other oil items. Now the walls of small intestine contain glands which secrete intestinal juice. So these enzymes present in it finally convert the protein into amino acids and complex carbohydrates into glucose, fats into fatty acids and glycerol. So in this way the process of digestion converts the large and insoluble food particles into smaller soluble materials. Finally, something absorption has to take place, right? It has produced, but everything has to be absorbed by our bloodstream. The small intestine is the main region for absorption of digested food. So we have a lot of air-like structures called, that is, instead of saying air-like structures, we can say that finger-like projections. So finger-like projection which helps to absorb the digested food. The name of the finger-like projection is called as villi. So this villi helps to absorb the digested food and it is connected to the blood streams. So you can see the blood streams are blood vessels are connected and it will be supplied back to the blood. The digested food will be supplied back to the blood. Now the digested food which is absorbed through the walls of small intestine goes to our blood. And the next process is assimilation. Here the blood carries the digested dissolved food to all parts of the body and it becomes assimilated and helps us to build up new tissues and repair our old tissues. This is a very important question. Where does the digested food will be going? What is the role of digestive food? They will be asking. So please make a note of it. Last process is digestion. Here the unabsorbed food is sent into the large intestine through more villi and absorb water from its material. So I haven't told you about the large intestine. Finally, the large intestine will absorb excess amount of water and the remaining materials will be excreted out through the anus. So here you can see the rest of the material after absorption of water content from the large intestine will be removed by our body via anus. So the exit of this waste material is regulated by anal sphincter muscle cells. So this is also very important, one more question. So this is the simplest form of flowchart of what we have seen today. So you can see the intake of whole food takes place through mouth and chewing and grinding takes place in teeth. Tongue helps to rolling of food and tasting of food, swallowing and pushing the food down to the stomach. Okay. So in between, before sending it to stomach, the salivary glands secrete saliva and mucus. Here the salivary amylase will be acted upon on the starch and converted into simple sugar. Next thing, esophagus helps to do the peristaltic movement, that is contraction and expansion of muscles in the esophagus, which helps to push the food down to the stomach. So in the stomach we have gastric glands which secrete gastric juice, three types of juice. One is pepsin, HCl and mucus. The enzyme break down the first form of proteins. Then HCl makes it acidic so that pepsin can act upon the food. Then mucus protects the inner lining of the stomach from hydrochloric acid. Then small intestine, first stage is intestinal enzyme which convert carbohydrate into glucose, fat into fatty acid and glycerol, protein into amino acids. Now the similar way, after the conversion, the villi will be present inside our small intestine, will have finger-like projection which helps to absorb the digested food. So two more secretions we receive in the small intestine, one from liver which helps to convert liver which secretes a bile juice which helps to convert large fat globules to smaller ones. Then pancreas will release pancreatic juice, that is trypsin and lipase, will releases the protein and will helps to convert the protein into peptones. That is simplest form. And then lipase will act upon the emulsified fat and convert them into lipids. Finally, the large intestine absorbs excess amount of water. Rest of the material is removed by the body via anus. So thanks for watching the video. So please stay updated for more videos. Thank you, students. By this.